L200 Fertigation Installation Steps by Turf Feeding Systems for Green Partners USA. The first step is to evaluate the sited irrigation system. The pump enclosure should be mounted near a 115V power source for the unit and near the irrigation controller. The controller must have a master valve or a pump start terminal to start and stop the fertigation pump. Next, mount the enclosure. The pump enclosure should be mounted near a 115V power source for the unit and near the irrigation controller. The controller must have a master valve or a pump start terminal to start and stop the fertigation pump. Next, you should install the injection valve in the irrigation mainline downstream from the backflow device. We include a 1 3/4 PVC with the half-threaded connection for the injection valve. If your line is bigger, you will need to purchase one. Thread the injection valve in the T using Teflon tape to seal it and cut the main line and glue the injection valve T into the irrigation line. If it is below ground, you should install a valve box over the injection valve and trench back to the pump. Next, install the discharge tubing from the injection valve to pump. You should connect the black 1/4 tubing to the injection valve and run it back to the fertigation pump. If it is a short distance 5 to 10 feet, you can use the conduit included to run the tubing inside to protect it. If it is a longer distance, you should run it in a 1/2-inch PVC line as a sleeve and it can be buried as it runs below ground. Next, install discharge tubing from injection valve to pump. Running the tubing into the enclosure. And run it to the top pump valve in a loop and cut the tubing as shown. Install fittings on pump by slide the clamping nut on the tubing. And then slide the bushing on. Then push the end barb all the way on the tubing. Then slide the bushing back to the barb. Then thread the fitting on and tighten the clamping nut tight by hand only. The O-ring on the valve will seal, so no Teflon tape is needed. Install the suction tube to tank. Install the suction tube on the lower pump valve the same way. And run it to the tank or container all the way to the bottom. And cut the end and install the foot valve on the end. And drop to the bottom of the tank or container. Last, connect the cable wires from the master valve terminals in the irrigation controller to the control terminals in the fertigation enclosure. It is a 24-volt voltage signal that starts and stops the pump when irrigation starts. Consult your irrigation manual if you have questions. Now that it is installed, you can scan the QR code on the door to calculate the rate setting for the pump. Next, prime the pump with fertilizer and you are ready to fertigate your landscape or sports field. If you have any questions, call us at Green Partners USA or Turf Feeding Systems.